This is Drive Time, 20 minutes past 5 o'clock. Wendy van der Hend is a governor at Stanbury School and chief executive of the Personal Finance Education Group. And she's important because she has said, she's from Milton Keynes, she said that she's leading a campaign for schools to have compulsory lessons on finance. In an official report for the government, she says that young people need to have an understanding about banking, mortgages and debt.
Schools have been teaching finance for a long time, and young people need to know about money. They're very interested in money. They're often very astute consumers, but they're not necessarily very good at planning for the future and not getting into financial difficulties. So although we've been winning hearts and minds, and lots of schools have been doing it, we want everyone to do it. Now,
Sean McGuire from a company called Ambitious Minds, which already provides lessons of personal finance. Sean, very good afternoon to you.
Hello, Roberto. Good afternoon.
Welcome to the programme. Why is it that you think that so many people seem incapable of looking and, just handling their finances?
I think because of the point that Wendy made earlier, really, that there's just a great degree of ignorance about this. It's become a very complex marketplace. People have to take very sophisticated decisions, and very often they really have no background in a solid grounding in understanding what those things mean, what the technical language means, and what the consequences are of their decisions.
But what's the real issue? Is it because we've got a massive credit culture? Around half the population live on credit, or possibly because in the last 20 years we've been told, get credit, borrow more money, it's easy.
I think it's a combination of a lot of things, actually, and they are two very important parts of it. But if you think about the way that the world has changed in the last 15 to 20 years, that it would be possible to have left school or college probably in the mid-'80s and to have had, perhaps certainly earlier than that, very little real financial understanding, to have been able to build a perfectly sustainable adult life. That just isn't the case anymore. The state is withdrawing from provision in all sorts of areas. People are expected now to make their own decisions. The market's flooded with a complex and very big number of financial products. And again, you've got to make your own choice, whichever kind of mortgage you get, what kind of relationship you have with your bank, when you use your credit card, what kind of personal insurance you take out, if you provide for your own old age or healthcare, etc. And I think that the real difficulty is putting that into a context that young people understand, that doesn't sound like a traditional school lesson. And it's the question of equipping them with skills that will help them to build sustainable adult lives.
But didn't you start from the basics? If you haven't got any money, don't spend it.
Very interestingly, I think it's actually a bit more complex. In other words, if you want to educate a young person to have that range of knowledge that you and I both know, and your listeners do, they'll require to lead independent lives, then employability is a very significant aspect of that. And in our simulation called Keep the Cash, one of the things that we do is we put them in the position of having to learn how to apply for jobs, write CVs, attend interviews, get jobs, and then manage the bills of a house in the context of earning their own money and planning for their own futures. And we do it by a sort of experiential learning where we plunge them into a set of circumstances which mean they have to get the decisions right, rather than simply teaching them something in a curriculum, because we teach young people in this country all sorts of things through the curriculum, like maths and English, but we're told that standards are falling. So I'm not entirely convinced that just putting this in the curriculum will immediately produce a generation of financially literate young adults.
Sean, I've got to ask you as well, is one of the other problems that the banking and the mortgage industry, they make it very difficult to understand how they work, and the language they use can be very complex. If you're desperate for a mortgage, you'll try as hard as you want, and most people don't understand the complexities behind it all.
Absolutely right. The language that the financial providers use is deliberately difficult for the ordinary person to understand, so that there's a technical barrier, and most people never get the opportunity to have these things explained to them in a way that will actually impact on their own lives. So I think simply giving this as a sort of lesson or as a tablet of keywords and phrases to learn and memorize won't work, because the providers, their job is to extract as much cash from you as they possibly can. And if they use a slightly technical and complex language, they won't explain that to you as an individual. They expect you to get to grips with it. And that's why the emphasis is on education, in equipping people with the skills to fight back effectively.
Sean, pleasure talking to you. Sean McGuire.